Ayurveda is the ancient medicine from India, and I like to say it helps us feel good in our bodies. It is based on the 5 sense therapies and the idea that you are what you eat, but also what you taste, smell, see, and hear.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ayurveda looks at all different aspects of your life, and we use nutrition, herbs and oils to help balance a person out. So Ayurveda, sort of similar to Chinese medicine, uses the idea that the earth is, the world is made up of 5 elements. Do you know what they are?
Water, fire, earth, ether, and air.
And air, yes, very good. And so the elements, they are what they sound like, but they're also poetic and symbolic. So like earth is not just the ground that we walk on, but earth is your mud here. Yeah, anything that's solid is earth. And air, it's the wind, and anything that, you know, our oxygen that we breathe, but it's also the idea of mobility. So anything that's moving, it's
and
air.
like emotions would be tied to air because they're energy and motion.
Yeah, and different emotions are tied to different energies.
Okay.
Yeah, different elements. So very good point. So we're going to talk about actually how those come together in humans generally and in you, and how they combine, and then how they look physically and psychologically, and in lifestyle habits too. Okay, so the elements come together and they make combinations, and these are called doshas in Ayurveda. In Sanskrit, this is the meaning is a blemish, or I think of it as kind of like a mark. So it's sort of your personal, unique makeup. So all of us at conception have an original balance of the elements that is our healthiest state of being. And then as time comes and, you know, other elements come in, we have what are called imbalances or vikriti, and that is when our bodies have ways of fixing ourselves up each day and managing any excess imbalances that come in. So, you know, we can have an imbalance like we had too much hot sauce or something and our body manages it, right? And so generally our body can take care of that as long as we're making decisions that are good for us. Like if we know hot sauce isn't good, then we know that that's not going to help our body be able to take care of itself as well. But of course sometimes the external world around us can bring lots of different things in. There can be big changes in life, or even internally we can have big emotions that come up or things we need to heal through. So Ayurveda helps us sort of figure out where to start to get through those. So
I decided to use Ayurveda because it was my intuition that drew me to it. And it's a risk I'm taking, like, I guess, really only, honestly, financially, because, like, if it doesn't work, that's fine. Like, that's fine. But I love it because it's kind of centered around self-care, and, like, these are things that I can implement on a daily basis and throughout my entire life without necessarily relying on a specific doctor, because yes, like, we will see each other, but as we go on, it might just be like, you know, annually or seasonally or whatever, as I need it, and not like, oh, you have to come see me once a month. Like, I feel like that's just like too much.
Right, and it's true. So the reason why I found out about Ayurveda is because I'd had Lyme's disease for 7 years, and it is sort of like this kind of mysterious thing. So what is this? What are we doing? But you're right, the more that you get into it, the more that you experience the effects, the more you're like, okay, this is a really good idea. And for me, it got rid of my Lyme's disease, so that's why I ended up studying it and wanting to share it. So, so of the 3 doshas, do you remember what they are?
Vata.
Okay, do you remember what makes up Vata?
Air and ether.
Yes.
I knew like which 2 elements are alike, and then there's it starts with a P.
Pitta.
And this one is earth.
Nope.
No.
But
Okay.
good guess. because Earth is coming up next. It's fire and a little water.
Okay, fire and water, something more like middle ground. And then Kapha is earth, and what's the other one that would be?
Water.
Water, okay.
Yeah. So, Vata, since those are the two lightest elements, the ether and the air, physically this comes out in sort of taller, thinner, smaller characteristics. So for you, actually, we're going to back up. We're going to start with Pitta.
Cool.
Because guess what, your first...
Is Pitta?
43% Pitta.
Okay.
Kapha's 37%, and Vata is 20%. And so we're going to talk about what that means. But that is your original constitution, the original balance of the elements in you. So we're going to actually start with Pitta since it's the foremost in you. So fire and a little water. So Pitta is the medium characteristics, right? So it is the two middle elements. So fire and water are the next heaviest. So that's why we have medium characteristics physically. And then we'll talk about psychologically. But so fire is heat, it's light, and it's transformation. So
that is why I love change, and I thrive off of it. And I've always just been like, oh, that didn't work, what's next?
Absolutely,
cool.
Absolutely. So you have the ability to take stuff in, digest it, and then make it into something positive, heat, cool. Light-filled. Yeah. So your physical characteristics, so your nose size actually is nice and medium. That is a Pitta nose. Your skin thickness, so in Ayurveda we do a little test down here. So your skin thickness is nice and medium. Your complexion, so you have rosiness to you. Yeah, so that's Pitta. Let's see, your palms of your hands, can you show those up? So those are actually nice and medium squares there.
Okay.
And what else do we have physically for you? Your decision-making processes. So when you make a decision, you feel good about it. You don't, waffle back and forth. You just take the information, make a decision. And if you get new information, you're okay with changing it. So you're basing on information coming in. So it's a very Pitta quality. Pitta is also psychologically, Pitta comes out with being perceptive, being very logical, being very disciplined. And because
I love structure, and that's why, like, from the time I started with trying out a workout program, I fell in love with that system because it gives me structure. That's cool.
Absolutely, and that makes definite sense. A Pitta person does like to get in there and get things going and moving, right? You also have a lovely light about you. You have a charisma, and that's the Pitta energy. People are drawn to you. Yeah, and you have a good, sharp intellect as well, and that comes from your Pitta constitution. A Pitta person, psychologically, that looks like a very good leader, and someone who's very good at getting things going and getting projects completed, that kind of thing. That's a Pitta person.
And that's something I've actually struggled with. But I feel like it's sometimes because I get overwhelmed with, like, the end goal.
Right.
That, like, I don't realize, okay, like, what's the first step? And then once I figure that out, it's like, oh, okay, like, let's do this.
Right. And we're going to talk about that part later. That's a little bit of Vata coming in for you. So you don't have a lot of that, but you do have some. So the next is, I think that Pitta combines with Kapha though, and you two quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the combination of all, like, I like where I'm at.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
My original.
Yeah, you have a nice balance. So everyone has all of the elements in them, but you have a pretty equal measure, and the parts that you need from Vata, which is the lowest one, they come out very strongly, like your creativity. So, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you about Pitta and Kapha combining together in you, because a lot of your traits weren't actually straightforward this way or that way. There was mixing.
That's why you were like, this is strange. My pulse, Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So Pitta and Kapha come together in you because Kapha is very close behind Pitta. So really your constitution is sort of Pitta Kapha, but Pitta primary for sure. But so your physical characteristics, so these are sort of in between. So Kapha is the two heaviest, earth and water. And so this is sort of the larger, more prominent structures, rounder, curvier, softer structures, right? And so yours are sort of between Pitta and Kapha. So those are your eyes, right? Because your eyes are very large and round and pretty, and they also have, and they're so they're soft and watery, but they also have an intensity to them and a passion to them. So you've got Pitta and Kapha in your eyes, and the same with your facial energy as well. Your hair traits actually, so you have dense hair, but it's also fine, and you have some
I've
oily
been told that by
qualities.
a hair. And like today I washed my hair, so I was about to be like, will you feel it again?
Yeah, let's.
I feel like
part
you're
of the
gonna get
test.
the same.
Still
Like
very
it's still a little
soft.
damp, but yeah.
But you can also still feel there's some oil, which is good.
Yeah.
It's nice for our hair to have oil in them and to have that luster to them. And then, so your physique, it's very sort of in the middle of Pitta and Kapha. So you got a groundedness to you, but you also have sort of like the moderate structure as well. And yeah, you were right on about your pulse. Your pulse is Pitta and Kapha. So it was sort of like got the frog of a Pitta jump to it, but also there's a smoothness and a wateriness to it, sort of like a swan. Yeah. So Pitta and Kapha in your deep pulse, which is reflective of your prakriti or your original constitution. Before we move on, any questions about that?
I'm excited about all of it.
Okay, very good. So with Kapha, the parts of you that are purely Kapha. So Kapha we talked about, it's the heavier, it's the more grounded, it's structured. It's also someone who's compassionate, nurturing, devoted. These are all qualities of a Kapha person. So physically for you, you have your face shape is lovely and round, and that's Kapha. The bridge of your nose actually is kind of Pitta Kapha. It's kind of in between too. And then your bones are actually nice and sturdy. So this is one of the things we do is I just ask you to put all your weight on me. So you've got nice, strong, grounded bones.
My mom always told me I was big boned. Not that she said that to make me feel better about being a little chunky.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty dense.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that there's never any judgment about different body types, which is not a message that we get in our culture. So it's a really nice antithesis to that idea. Like, hey, we're all good how we are. And sometimes, no matter your body structure, you may need to balance out, right? So you can feel better. And your tongue, do you feel like sharing? So your tongue has a thickness to it. That's Kapha. Yeah. Very good.
That's always I don't know. It used to be bad to show your tongue, and my Mima would have cut my tongue off had I stuck it out.
Right.
But that's also disrespectful. So
right.
But now it's more like
right. Here I am, and here's how you can see something about me that shows you how to help me feel healthier, because our tongues actually carry a lot of information about where we're at, and we're going to talk more about that when we go into imbalances.
Okay.
So Vata is the lowest in you. It's the lightest of the elements, air and ether, and so the taller, thinner, sharper characteristics are Vata, or the variability can be Vata too, because Vata is the wind, and so things being different has to do with Vata and change. For you, your tongue actually had a bit of a Vata shape to it, as well as your fingers. Can you hold up your fingers again? So you have nice, long, thin fingers, so they're very Vata. your body temperature patterns. So in Ayurveda we talk about the functioning of the system as well. So your body temperature patterns have to do with the coolness, have to do with Vata. This says Vata shows in your enthusiasm and your colorful speech patterns because you have a creativity that comes out in the way that you talk.
That is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And then your lips are actually tridoshic. And because your top lip is about pitta size, it's sort of medium. Your bottom lip is kapha size, it's rounder, it's larger. And so the variability is vata. And similarly, when you are feeling very balanced, you identify tridoshically. So you will feel creative and enthusiastic, but you will also feel perceptive and logical. And you'll also feel balanced by having nurturing feelings and compassionate feelings. So all of those, when you're doing well, show up in you. So that is your original state of the elements in you. Pitta mostly, kapha close by, and then vata at 20%.